Have you ever noticed how the harder you try to build the habit of daily reflection, the more elusive consistency becomes? There's a reason for this, and once you see it, everything shifts. Let me show you what I mean. Most people approach daily reflection like they're trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces, forcing themselves into rigid routines that feel more like punishment than growth. But what if I told you that the secret to sustainable daily reflection has nothing to do with willpower, perfect timing, or finding the right journal prompts? By the end of our time together, you'll understand why the people who naturally maintain this transformative practice approach it completely differently than what you've been taught. There's something profound that happens when we truly understand reflection. Not the surface-level practice most people attempt, but the deeper truth that changes everything. What I'm about to share might feel uncomfortable at first, then liberating, and finally transformative. Because here's what most people miss. Daily reflection isn't another task to add to your already overwhelming schedule. It's a natural human capacity that, when properly cultivated, becomes as essential and effortless as breathing. The people who effortlessly maintain daily reflection know something that the rest of us are missing. It's not about discipline, motivation, or having more time. It's definitely not what they teach in productivity courses or self-help books. Stay with me, because this understanding will transform not just your relationship with reflection, but how you approach growth and self-awareness for the rest of your life. The challenge. Have you noticed how building the habit of daily reflection feels like trying to catch water with your hands? There's something happening beneath the surface that most of us miss because we're focused on finding the perfect method, the right time, or the ideal questions to ask ourselves. Picture Maria, a successful project manager who desperately wanted to develop a daily reflection practice. She'd read about the benefits: better decision-making, increased self-awareness, reduced stress, clearer life direction. It all made perfect sense. So she bought a beautiful journal, downloaded 3 different reflection apps, and committed to spending 20 minutes every evening reviewing her day. The first week went well. She felt proud, accomplished, even a little superior to her past self who never took time for introspection. But by the second week, life started interfering. A late meeting here, a social obligation there, fatigue after particularly challenging days. Soon, the beautiful journal sat unopened, the app sent increasingly ignored notifications, and Maria felt like she'd failed at something that should have been simple. Sound familiar? Maria represents millions of us caught in what I call the reflection trap. We approach daily reflection like we're trying to install new software on an old computer, forcing a practice onto our existing life structure instead of understanding how reflection naturally wants to emerge from within our daily experience. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. We've been taught to think of reflection as something separate from life, an additional activity to squeeze into our already packed days. But this fundamental misunderstanding sets us up for failure from the beginning. We're trying to build a habit that feels foreign and forced, rather than cultivating a natural capacity that already exists within us. Most people try to force reflection into predetermined timeframes, specific locations, and rigid formats. They set up elaborate systems with complex questions, detailed frameworks, and high expectations for profound insights. When life inevitably disrupts these artificial structures, they conclude that they're not disciplined enough, don't have enough time, or aren't naturally reflective people. But here's what master practitioners understand. Reflection isn't something you do at a specific time and place. It's a way of moving through life with awareness and intentionality. The people who maintain consistent daily reflection have learned to weave moments of conscious awareness throughout their entire day, making reflection feel natural and sustainable rather than forced and burdensome. Think of a river that flows naturally around rocks and through valleys. It doesn't force its way through obstacles or struggle to maintain its course. It simply follows the path of least resistance while staying true to its essential nature. Your reflection practice wants to work the same way, flowing naturally through your existing life rhythm rather than fighting against it. The problem isn't that you lack discipline or don't have enough time. The problem is that most approaches to daily reflection work against your natural rhythms and genuine lifestyle instead of harmonizing with them. When you understand how to align your reflection practice with your authentic way of being, it stops feeling like another burden and starts feeling like coming home to yourself. You might be thinking, but I've tried being more flexible with my reflection practice. I've tried different times, various methods, shorter sessions. Why would this be any different? That's exactly the right question, because what I'm about to share isn't another method to try. It's an understanding that transforms every method, making reflection feel natural and sustainable regardless of your schedule, personality, or life circumstances. The real challenge isn't finding time for reflection. It's recognizing that reflection is already happening naturally throughout your day and learning to consciously participate in this ongoing process. When you stop trying to impose reflection onto your life and start discovering how it wants to emerge from within your life, everything changes. Most people miss the countless micro moments of natural reflection that occur throughout their day. The brief pause before making a decision, the moment of consideration after an interaction, the quiet processing that happens during routine activities. These aren't random mental events, they're your natural reflection capacity trying to function. The key is learning to recognize, value, and gently expand these organic moments rather than ignoring them in favor of forced formal sessions. The insight. Here's what transforms everything about developing a daily reflection habit. Your mind is already reflecting constantly throughout the day. You don't need to create a reflection practice. You need to become conscious of the reflection that's already happening naturally and learn to work with it skillfully. Let me tell you about David, a busy emergency room doctor who struggled for years to maintain any kind of consistent reflection practice. Between 12-hour shifts, family responsibilities, and the emotional intensity of his work, formal reflection sessions felt impossible. He tried morning pages, evening reviews, weekend journaling. Nothing stuck for more than a few weeks. Then something shifted during a particularly intense shift. As he moved from one critical patient to another, David began noticing the micro moments of processing that naturally occurred between cases. The brief seconds when he mentally reset before entering a new room. The moment of consideration about which treatment approach to take. The quick internal check about his own energy and emotional state. Instead of dismissing these moments as insignificant, David began treating them as genuine reflection. He started consciously participating in these natural pauses, asking himself simple questions. What did I just learn? How am I feeling right now? What do I need for the next patient? These weren't elaborate analysis sessions, they were conscious moments of awareness woven seamlessly into his existing workflow. What David discovered was revolutionary. These micro-reflections throughout his day created more self-awareness, better decision-making, and emotional regulation than any formal reflection session ever had. He wasn't adding reflection to his life, he was recognizing the reflection that was already there and learning to enhance it naturally. This reveals the deeper principle that transforms everything. Reflection isn't something you do at specific times in specific ways. It's a natural human capacity that can be cultivated and refined within the flow of your actual life. When you stop trying to impose external reflection structures and start working with your mind's natural processing rhythms, daily reflection becomes as natural as thinking itself. While most people exhaust themselves trying to maintain artificial reflection routines, master practitioners understand that sustainable reflection emerges from conscious participation in your mind's existing awareness processes. Your brain is constantly processing experiences, making meaning, and integrating information. The key is learning to participate in this natural function with greater intention and skill. Think of how breathing works. You don't have to remember to breathe or force yourself to follow breathing schedules. Breathing happens naturally, but you can also consciously participate in it, deepening and refining the process when needed. Reflection works the same way. It's happening automatically, but when you learn to consciously engage with your mind's natural reflection processes, the quality and impact of this awareness dramatically increases. Here's what most people miss. The most powerful reflection often happens in the spaces between activities, during transitions, in moments of routine. Your mind naturally processes and integrates experiences during these in-between times. When you learn to recognize and honor these natural reflection opportunities, you discover that your day is already full of potential moments for conscious awareness and growth. The secret lies in understanding that your mind is already doing the work of reflection, reviewing experiences, making connections, learning from outcomes, adjusting approaches. Instead of fighting against your natural patterns by trying to impose external structures, you can learn to enhance and direct these existing processes in ways that feel organic and sustainable. This is why artificial reflection systems often fail. They ignore your mind's natural processing rhythms and try to force awareness into predetermined containers. But when you work with your existing mental patterns and life flow, reflection becomes integrated into your way of being rather than an additional task you might forget or avoid. The most sustainable daily reflection practice isn't a practice at all. It's a way of living with conscious awareness that honors your mind's natural intelligence while gently guiding it toward greater clarity and insight. When reflection becomes integrated into your authentic way of moving through the world, it requires no willpower to maintain and provides immediate value that reinforces its continuation. Natural development. Now that you understand the principle, let's explore how to naturally develop this integrated approach to daily reflection. Think of this as learning to dance with your mind's existing rhythms rather than trying to teach it completely new steps. Awareness cultivation. The foundation of natural reflection development is becoming aware of your mind's existing reflection patterns. Most people are unconscious of the countless moments throughout their day when their mind naturally pauses, processes, and integrates experience. The first step is simply noticing these organic moments of awareness. Start by observing your mind during routine activities. Notice what happens mentally when you're walking from one place to another, washing dishes, commuting, or waiting in line. Pay attention to the brief pauses that naturally occur between tasks, conversations, or decisions. These aren't empty spaces, they're opportunities for natural reflection that most people overlook. Your mind is constantly making sense of experience, but usually in an unconscious way. When you begin to consciously participate in these natural processing moments, you're not adding something new to your day, you're enhancing something that's already happening. This makes the practice feel familiar and sustainable rather than foreign and forced. During these observation periods, notice the questions your mind naturally asks itself. What thoughts arise during transitions? What considerations emerge before decisions? What processing happens after interactions? Your mind already has its own reflection patterns. Learning to recognize and work with them is far more effective than trying to impose external questioning frameworks. As you develop awareness of your natural reflection rhythms, you'll begin to notice certain times of day, activities, or situations where your mind is particularly open to conscious processing. Some people naturally reflect during morning routines, others during evening activities. Some find their minds most receptive during physical movement, others during quiet stillness. Honor these organic preferences rather than fighting against them. This awareness cultivation isn't about judging or changing your current patterns, it's about becoming curious and appreciative of how your mind already works. When you approach your existing mental processes with interest and respect, they become more accessible and willing to be consciously guided toward greater insight and clarity. Gentle integration. Once you're aware of your natural reflection moments, the next phase involves gently enhancing these existing patterns rather than dramatically changing them. This is where most people make the mistake of trying to transform their entire approach overnight instead of building gradually on what's already working. Begin by choosing one or two of your most natural reflection moments and consciously participating in them with slightly more intention. If you notice your mind naturally processing during your morning coffee, spend a few extra seconds asking yourself, what am I looking forward to today? What do I want to remember from yesterday? How am I feeling right now? The key is keeping these enhancements small and natural. You're not trying to turn a brief moment into an elaborate analysis session, you're simply participating more consciously in a process that's already happening. This approach feels sustainable because it builds on existing patterns rather than requiring entirely new behaviors. As these enhanced moments become natural, you can gradually expand them or add similar conscious participation to other natural reflection opportunities throughout your day. The goal is organic growth that feels aligned with your authentic rhythms rather than forced development that requires constant willpower to maintain. Notice which types of questions or awareness focuses feel most natural and valuable to you. Some people gravitate toward practical planning, others toward emotional processing, still others toward meaning-making or learning integration. Allow your reflection style to emerge naturally rather than forcing yourself into predetermined frameworks that might not match your authentic processing preferences. During this integration phase, pay attention to what enhances your natural reflection and what interferes with it. External pressure, complex systems, and perfectionist expectations usually diminish the natural flow of conscious awareness. Curiosity, gentleness, and appreciation for your existing wisdom typically enhance it. Remember that integration happens gradually over time. Some days your conscious reflection will feel natural and valuable. Others, it might feel forced or unavailable. Both experiences are normal and perfect. The goal isn't perfect consistency. It's developing a sustainable relationship with your own awareness that can adapt to changing circumstances and energy levels. Deepening practice. As your natural reflection moments become more conscious and consistent, you can begin to deepen the quality and impact of these awareness experiences. This isn't about making them longer or more complicated, it's about making them more skillful and insightful. One powerful way to deepen natural reflection is by learning to ask better questions. Instead of generic prompts that might feel artificial, develop questions that genuinely interest you and connect to your authentic growth desires. What are you genuinely curious about regarding your experience? What patterns do you want to understand better? What insights would actually be valuable for your life? Another approach to deepening is learning to hold reflection with both honesty and compassion. Many people either avoid difficult truths during reflection or become harshly self-critical when they notice shortcomings. Skillful reflection involves seeing clearly what's actually happening while maintaining kindness toward yourself and your human imperfections. As your practice deepens, you might begin to notice themes and patterns that emerge across multiple reflection moments. Perhaps you repeatedly notice certain emotional triggers, decision-making patterns, or areas where you feel particularly aligned or misaligned. These patterns become valuable information for ongoing growth and self-understanding. Advanced practitioners learn to use their daily reflection moments not just for processing what has already happened, but for consciously setting intentions and making choices about how they want to engage with upcoming experiences. This transforms reflection from purely analytical activity into active life design and conscious living. You might also begin to notice how your reflection moments naturally connect to create a larger pattern of awareness and growth. Individual moments of conscious processing become part of a larger fabric of intentional living that supports your ongoing development without feeling burdensome or artificial. Sustainable integration. The ultimate goal is creating a sustainable relationship with daily reflection that feels as natural as any other aspect of your self-care and personal development. This happens when conscious awareness becomes integrated into your way of being rather than feeling like an additional responsibility or practice to maintain. At this level, reflection stops being something you do and becomes part of who you are. You naturally move through your day with awareness, processing experiences as they arise, making conscious choices based on ongoing self-understanding, and continuously learning from your interactions with life. This sustainable integration often happens so gradually that you don't notice the transformation until you realize that you're naturally doing what you once struggled to force yourself to do. The habit has become part of your authentic way of engaging with life rather than an external practice requiring discipline to maintain. People at this level of integration often report that their daily reflection feels effortless and valuable rather than burdensome. They found their unique rhythm and style that honors both their natural patterns and their growth intentions. They're not following anyone else's system, they've developed their own authentic approach that works sustainably for their actual life. The practice also becomes more flexible and adaptive at this level. Instead of feeling disrupted when external circumstances interfere with formal reflection time, sustainable practitioners can maintain their awareness and processing through any life situation. Their reflection capacity has become portable and resilient. Most importantly, sustainable daily reflection begins to feel like a gift you give yourself rather than an obligation you must fulfill. The immediate value, increased clarity, better decisions, emotional regulation, sense of growth, becomes so apparent that maintaining the practice feels like obvious self-care rather than disciplined effort. Living integration. When daily reflection becomes naturally integrated into your life, something beautiful happens. The boundary between living and reflecting begins to dissolve, and you discover that conscious awareness enhances every aspect of your experience rather than taking time away from it. Moment-to-moment awareness. Integrated daily reflection means developing the capacity to be consciously present with your experience as it unfolds, not just during designated reflection times. This isn't about constant self-analysis or mental commentary, it's about living with greater awareness and intentionality throughout your day. This awareness shows up in countless small ways: noticing your emotional responses to different situations and people, observing patterns in your energy levels throughout the day, recognizing when you feel most aligned and authentic versus when you feel disconnected from yourself, paying attention to what environments, activities, and interactions genuinely nourish you versus what depletes your energy. These micro-observations throughout your day become the raw material for deeper insights during your natural reflection moments. Instead of trying to remember what happened hours or days ago, you're working with fresh, immediate awareness of your ongoing experience. This makes reflection more accurate, relevant, and useful for actual life navigation. Living with moment-to-moment awareness also means developing the capacity to make small course corrections throughout your day based on what you notice. If you become aware that you're feeling overwhelmed, you can pause and ask what you need in that moment. If you notice you're operating from old patterns that no longer serve you, you can consciously choose a different response. This real-time awareness and adjustment capacity is perhaps the most practical benefit of integrated daily reflection. Instead of only processing experience after the fact, you develop the ability to learn and adapt while experience is still happening. This makes your reflection practice immediately applicable to improving your actual life experience. Natural wisdom development. As you maintain this integrated approach over time, you begin to develop what I call natural wisdom, a deep familiarity with your own patterns, needs, and authentic preferences that allows you to navigate life with greater ease and effectiveness. This wisdom emerges naturally from consistent, honest awareness rather than from trying to force insights or follow external advice. Natural wisdom shows up as increased trust in your own judgment and decision-making. You begin to recognize your internal guidance signals and learn to distinguish between authentic intuition and reactive emotions. You develop confidence in your ability to handle whatever life presents because you've become skilled at learning from experience and adapting consciously. This wisdom also manifests as increased emotional intelligence and self-regulation. Through daily awareness of your emotional patterns, you learn which situations trigger specific responses, what you need for emotional balance, and how to work skillfully with challenging emotions when they arise. This emotional mastery emerges naturally from understanding rather than from trying to control or suppress feelings. Perhaps most importantly, natural wisdom includes developing a compassionate relationship with your own humanity. Through consistent, honest reflection, you become familiar with your limitations, mistakes, and areas of ongoing growth. Instead of this knowledge creating self-criticism, it often leads to greater self-acceptance and realistic self-assessment. People who develop natural wisdom through integrated reflection often report feeling more at peace with themselves and their life circumstances. They're not constantly seeking external validation or trying to become someone different. They've developed genuine appreciation for who they are while maintaining openness to continued growth and learning. Continuous evolution. One of the most beautiful aspects of integrated daily reflection is that it supports continuous evolution without creating pressure for dramatic change. By maintaining consistent awareness of your experience and patterns, you naturally notice areas where growth wants to happen and can support these organic developments skillfully. This continuous evolution often feels more like gentle unfolding than forced transformation. You might notice that certain behaviors or attitudes that once felt necessary no longer serve you. Interests and priorities might shift gradually as you become clearer about what genuinely matters to you. Relationships might naturally evolve as you become more authentic and clear about your needs and boundaries. The key is that this evolution emerges from increased self-awareness rather than from external pressure or should-based thinking. You're not trying to become someone different. You're allowing your authentic self to emerge more fully by removing the obstacles of unconsciousness, fear, and outdated patterns. Integrated reflection also supports resilience during challenging periods. When difficult experiences arise, your developed awareness capacity allows you to process them consciously rather than simply reacting unconsciously. You can extract learning and growth from hardship while maintaining perspective and self-compassion. This approach to personal development feels sustainable because it honors your natural timing and authentic preferences. You're not forcing yourself to change according to external timelines or standards. You're supporting your own organic development process with conscious awareness and skillful response. Contribution and service. As your daily reflection practice becomes truly integrated, many people discover that their increased self-awareness and emotional regulation naturally enhances their capacity to contribute meaningfully to others. When you're operating from genuine self-understanding rather than unconscious patterns, your interactions become more authentic and beneficial. This contribution often happens organically rather than through forced effort. You might find that you naturally become a better listener because you're more present and less reactive. Your decision-making might improve, allowing you to be more reliable and trustworthy in your relationships and responsibilities. Your emotional balance might create space for others to feel safe and understood in your presence. Integrated reflection also often leads to increased clarity about how you want to contribute to the world in larger ways. As you become more familiar with your authentic interests, values, and capacities, you might discover new ways to be of service that feel aligned and energizing rather than obligatory. The beautiful paradox is that this outward contribution emerges naturally from inner development rather than from trying to be helpful or significant. When you're operating from genuine self-awareness and emotional integration, your natural gifts and authentic way of contributing tend to emerge spontaneously. Many people report that their relationships improve significantly as their daily reflection practice becomes integrated. They become less reactive, more empathetic, and clearer about their own needs and boundaries. This emotional maturity benefits everyone in their life while requiring no additional effort or sacrifice. Effortless maintenance. Perhaps the strongest indicator that daily reflection has become truly integrated is that maintaining it requires no willpower or external motivation. The practice has become so valuable and natural that not reflecting would feel like depriving yourself of something essential rather than failing to maintain a discipline. At this level, reflection maintenance becomes automatic because the immediate benefits are so apparent. Better decisions, emotional regulation, increased clarity, and ongoing growth make the practice feel like obvious self-care rather than optional personal development work. The practice also becomes highly adaptive and resilient. External circumstances might disrupt formal reflection sessions, but the underlying awareness and processing capacity remains intact. You can maintain conscious reflection during busy periods, stressful times, or changing life circumstances because the skill has become integrated into your way of being. This effortless maintenance often surprises people who struggled for years to build consistent reflection habits through discipline and external systems. They discover that when reflection aligns with their authentic patterns and provides immediate value, consistency emerges naturally without forcing or striving. The practice continues to evolve and deepen over time, but this evolution feels organic rather than effortful. You naturally become more skilled at awareness, more honest in your self-assessment, and more effective at translating insights into beneficial life changes. Most importantly, effortless maintenance means that your daily reflection practice becomes a source of energy and clarity rather than something that depletes your time or mental resources. The practice gives back more than it requires, creating a positive feedback loop that supports its natural continuation and development. This is how daily reflection naturally develops when you work with your mind's existing intelligence rather than against it. The habit emerges from understanding and appreciation of your natural capacities rather than from discipline and forcing. What develops isn't just a practice, it's a way of living with consciousness and intentionality that supports ongoing growth, contribution, and authentic fulfillment throughout your life. When daily reflection becomes this integrated, you realize that you weren't building a habit at all. You were developing a relationship with your own awareness that transforms how you engage with every aspect of life. The practice becomes invisible because it's become part of who you are, rather than something you do. This is the true goal of daily reflection development, not perfect consistency with external methods, but natural integration of conscious awareness into your authentic way of being in the world.